Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm very happy indeed. Yeah, it really does feel like being home, basically. Yeah, just walking through that courtyard, seeing everybody, and then coming in here and seeing everyone that I'm in the order with. Wonderful. Yeah, really wonderful. And I also loved your two talks, and I also loved how different the three of these are going to be, which I think really says something about what we're trying to do. We're trying to do something that goes beyond something. But yeah, I really feel at home here and tonight. A little nervous, but happy. And it was on the second winter retreat that I went on that Maitra Bandhu gave a talk, which has sort of stayed etched on my mind. I sent it to my mum, actually, when I was saying, here's a little idea of what I might be doing, or the vision behind it. And the talk ended with Maitra Bandhu just saying, and if you listen closely, you can hear a voice, and the voice is calling you. It's calling you home. I just remember bursting into tears and thinking, I've heard that voice for ages, but I didn't know how to talk about it, and I couldn't find many people that knew how to talk about it. And then from that day to this, I've just been following that call, basically. And we talked a bit about cool in one of the study groups that I was in with Maitra Bandhu, and talked about how this idea of this metaphor of cool is like completely intimate and yet somehow nothing to do with me, which I think is really beautiful. Yes. So as a kid, as a child, I'd quite often, I'd be on the toilet and I would practice giving an Oscar speech, and it's true. I'm sure we've all been there. And Oscar speeches begin with thanking your mum and dad. Yeah. And I really would like to thank you both. I practiced on the toilet. But you've just both been so supportive of me, and you've asked questions, and you've listened, and you've just consistently turned up. So yeah, thank you very much. It's going to get more emotional as we go through. So in the life story of the Buddha, part of the beginning, or near the beginning, is that he sees the sights of disease, old age, and death, and he doesn't know what to do about it. So he has these three sights, and then he has a fourth sight, and the fourth sight is a holy man. And it gives him an idea of what he could do about disease, old age, and death, because something must be done. And for that, I'd like to thank my nan, who's definitely my fourth sight, definitely the religious practitioner of my youth that I looked up to, and definitely planted the seeds. I mean, they went in a slightly different direction, but they were definitely planted by you. So thank you very much. I'd also just like to thank my sister, who can't be here tonight, who I've said I'll start calling Jem in return for her calling me Ksantikara. We had a discussion on the phone the other day, and I just gave her license to let me know that she thought it was all a bit bizarre. And I said it is a bit bizarre. I've been wearing a robe for 4 months, and I've got a new name. But I really love her, and she really clearly loves me, and that's quite a gift. I quite like also having someone that can call out the bizarreness. And I'd just like to thank the rest of I can see various friends. Maybe put your hand up actually if you're a friend or a family member that's not at least not a Buddhist here. So friend or family member, put up your hand just so I can see it. Yeah, so thank you very much for coming. It means a lot actually. Sort of slightly brings the two lives together a bit more, which I'm a little bit frightened of. Anyway, here I am. I'd also like to thank, and some more thank yous come later, but I'd just like to thank, in particular, Deva Mitra, who's somewhere, Satyadasa, Pranyamanas, and Dana Uttar, which I think have really offered me significant guidance in different departments, from cultural educations to how to run young people's groups, to how to follow my own voice a bit more, to how to kind of work in an office that is also a Buddhist context. So I'm really grateful to them. And to the GFR group I was in, and all the men that have been in it, and to Sakavati, where I live, just upstairs. Very grateful. And I'd also like to thank you, Yana Varcha. You were the chair when I started getting involved, and I remember telling you I wanted to come and work for the centre, and you were quite quick to decide that was a good idea. And I'm very grateful for that. And also to Surya Gupta, who's the chair at the moment, and I think it's quite a thing to take on. I'm just very grateful that you're up for steering this quite large ship. Yeah, it's quite large, so thank you very much. So I'll say one or two things about the retreat, one or two things about the ordination, and then I'll finish. Yeah, I'll tell you my name probably towards the end, but it's Ksantikara, but I'll say more about it. And so, I've been saying it's a 4-month retreat, but it is a 16-week retreat, but 4 months is more impressive. So I've just come back from a 4-month retreat. And I think the robes that we're wearing are a good example of what we were doing there. So we don't usually wear robes, as you can see by many of the order members here. So the cases that we're wearing are kind of an abbreviated robe, if you will, that we wear in the city. But when we were on this retreat, we were wearing robes. And I wasn't sure about it. My friend Dharmasara, who I was sharing a room with, completely loved them. And it was a real thing for him, a kind of religious symbol, a symbol of simplicity, leaving behind everything else, looking the same as each other, which sounds nice, but I actually sometimes found quite difficult. I want to be my own person sometimes. So that kind of, you all kind of look the same, you're all going towards something much higher, and you've given everything up. Which basically is quite frightening. Yeah, basically it's quite frightening. Following a religious endeavour is quite frightening. On the retreat we did lots of meditation. I've written lots, all in capitals. And it was one of the main things I was worried about. Vidyadhaka, my private preceptor, I remember saying, I'm confident about you joining the order, but I'm not confident about you meditating for 4 months. And I remember saying to him, yeah, it's going to be really hard. And it was really hard. It was really hard. Yeah, it was really hard. And I had meditation reviews with someone called Amalavajra, who I imagine isn't here tonight, so I'll look at the camera. I had meditation reviews with Amalavajra, and I just remember going to him one evening, and he just sort of said, you're really restless. You're really restless. You keep fidgeting, and you're really restless. And I thought, yeah, that's true. And played it cool. And then I left, and then I burst into tears and cried for an hour as if I've never kind of cried before. And realised I believe in rebirth accidentally. Yeah, I hadn't given it much thought. I thought I'll deal with it later. But I definitely had a very strong sense that restlessness, whatever that is, goes way beyond anything to do with me. Yeah, and it's been around for ages, way before I can remember. Yeah, I remember running through my life story with my mum actually, and she confirmed that. But something about this retreat and the fact that we were just meditating lots with capital letters meant that there was no option but to face it. Really, I wouldn't get anywhere. So it was a bit like I've been meditating like this is my new thing. So wiggly fingers read restlessness, and they're hiding something. And every now and again, someone, often Vidyadhaka or Maitre Bandhu, would say, "What's that just there?" And I'd sort of be like, "What did you mean?" Just there. Oh yeah, we don't look at that. Anyway, on this retreat I looked at it, yeah, and it's like intense energy, yeah, lots of energy that gets really angry and frustrated at me, at others, at institutions and the world, yeah. And I don't like looking at that. That's not nice. Doesn't sound like a nice person to me, so I just pretend it doesn't exist. And the other thing is just like a deep fear about life. Like, what on earth is life for, and why is it so hard? And then why is it so brilliant? And then why is it so hard again? I don't want to look at that. I think I'll do this. Anyway, on this retreat, I really looked at it, and really, it's really, I think it's really changed me, or at least it's shown me how to change. Yeah. Maitre Bandhu led the retreat, of which I am incredibly grateful. I'm grateful to you as a friend and a teacher. Maitre Bandhu would just sort of gush forth 30-minute unprepared talks most evenings that were just fantastic, just completely brilliant. I don't know how he does it. There wasn't much time to prepare. And in fact, I almost know for a fact he wouldn't have been preparing. And I think the two other things that I wanted to rejoice in Maitre Bandhu for was I felt like you really delighted in me becoming more of myself, becoming just more of who I am. And that's particularly what the ordination's given me, I think. And also you really brought Bhante, who we referred to a few times, Sangharachta, who's on the shrine and founded this movement. You just really brought him to life with stories and poems and funny little anecdotes and fairly good impressions of how he spoke. Yes, I'm very grateful for that. And the last thing I'll say about the retreat, I mean the time's slipping away, is I just really want to rejoice in my friendship with Dharmasara, who I shared a hut with for 4 months. He's from Berlin. He's a year younger than me and 25, and thus making him the youngest order member, which for me was a really good thing. He found it a little bit difficult. He teased me about it a lot. But I really enjoyed sharing a room with him, sharing a hut with him. It was just very intimate. 4 months of whatever we were doing on this mountain, which I don't quite know what we were doing, but yet we were sharing it. And I just grew to really love him as each day went past, which again included arguments, basically, and not understanding each other. So I just really wanted to rejoice in him. Yeah, and I really miss him. Yeah, I really miss Dharmasara. So I know you're watching this. Yeah, but luckily there's Gus. Who has very quickly slipped into Dharmasara's role of dealing with my tearful outbursts and frustrated energy. Sometimes, directed at him, sadly. So yeah, I'm very grateful to you, Gus. And I thought I would also mention that Gus was also invited to join us on this ordination retreat, but it became quite clear that the London Buddhist Centre couldn't lose 3 people from the team, and Gus stepped forward to stay behind to serve this centre. So I just really wanted to mention that because I think it's remarkable. And come back next year, around this time, and you'll see Gus not as Gus anymore, and I'm very excited for that. So I'll briefly say 3 things about the ordination, and then I'll need to close up. It's quite difficult to say, so I'll just say these 3 things. So Vidyadhaka gave me the name Ksantikara, which means he who is a maker of patience. He who is a maker of patience, So kara is a kind of making, forming, producing, bringing into being, which when I look at my life, it's like full of it, with mixed success. I used to play with Lego when I was a kid, and it wasn't about building the buildings, it was about playing make-believe with the Legos, kind of creating this whole world. I used to play in woods and create tribes, and then I tried to work in theatre, and then when I came here I just wanted to try and make things happen, which has lots of energy in it, etc. And the first part, Kshanti, means patience, and has connotations of receptivity, of love. It's quite soft, it's quite a soft meaning. Bhante talks about it as one of the most beautiful words in the Buddhist vocabulary, which is great. I really love it. And when Vidyadhaka gave me my name, it's not very profound, but I remember thinking, that's great. That's a really great name. And then, over the next day I thought, that's my name, and it means he who makes patience, and just that kind of dwelling in. And Vidyadhaka gave me actually a piece of paper that kind of ran through my name, and it's just one of the most remarkable gifts that I've ever been given, both the name and this description of how developing patience in the various settings of my life would set me free. And God, I really believe it. I find it really hard to be patient. I'd much rather just get things done, get out, Patience would make me much happier, blimey. So the second thing I thought I'd say is to really thank you, Vidyadhaka. You've just seen me so fully, so completely, which I think is so evident in the name, basically. You saw the qualities I have, the qualities I need. You've seen me lead up to ordination, and I think you also have a good idea of what might come next, or as good an idea as anyone can have. You've just been such a good friend to me, and just seen me so fully, and it's such a gift. I didn't know that would happen in my life, so thank you very, very much. And the third thing I'll just quickly say is, we take up this sadhana practice, a Buddha figure that we meditate on. And it slowly became quite clear that mine was going to be green Tara, and I was basically quite frightened by it. Green Tara is green, she's called Tara, she's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in the world or outside of the world. I can't quite work out where Green Tara is located, but located somewhere she is. Just something about this trusting the myth of there are these figures that kind of exist, kind of don't. I can't quite understand it, I kind of can. I try and bring it to mind when I meditate throughout my day, rely on it. Just myth and symbol is a much bigger thing than I thought possible, and much more supportive to my life. But basically also, it's amazing how something so beautiful and so true can be so frightening. So it's this beautiful green woman, all things I like, and yet if I get, sometimes I just, I don't think I'm giving too much away. When I meditate, if I start to move towards her just that little bit too much, it starts to carry itself, and then I quickly at that point go, okay, that's enough for now. It's actually quite a frightening, if beautiful, practice. So I thought I'd just end by just saying I'm thrilled to join this order. Yeah, there's lots of orders. There's lots of Buddhist orders. There's lots of different religious orders, and I'm really pleased to join this one. I think it could have been quite likely from quite early on that I might join a religious order. Actually, I think the seeds have been there for a while, but I'm really pleased to join this one. I'm really pleased and grateful to join Sangharakshita, Bante's order. His presentation of the Dharma just makes sense to me. The atmosphere here is just tangibly or intangibly amazing. Yeah, it's pointing towards something. And I think the vision of the order, the vision of Bante, manifests here at the London Buddhist Centre pretty strongly, and I'm really glad that I encountered it here. Subhuti recently said in a video I asked someone to make for the Buddhist Centre that the London Buddhist Centre is like a lightning rod through which something utterly transcendent can come into the world. And that's definitely my experience. And it's represented in this gold figure, which, again, I find beautiful and frightening. Something of that lightning rod makes this the best place for me to do my best to tune into that sense of the call. Yeah, that sense of the call. So that's what I'm going to try and do for the rest of my life as Ksantikara. Thank you.